With a hard freeze coming, possibly, it's kind of a double-edged sword for us.
Farmers are torn when it comes to the weather as our first deep freeze of the season is possible tonight.
It was designed to improve slow response times during emergencies on Madison's east side. Now Fire Station 14 is running into a new problem, one that leaves it without an ambulance.
This is News 3 at 6.
A new fire station designed to cut down on response times may not get a new ambulance.
Madison Mayor Paul Soglin rejected a request to provide this service at Station 14 near Stoughton Road. Jamie Perez shares why the mayor removed this from the budget and the implications it has. Jamie?
That's right. So News 3 has been following this story since 2013, first when a man died in an apartment where it took more than 10 minutes for fire crews to arrive. Then in 2015, when data showed response times were particularly bad for the Stoughton Road area, sometimes nearly 17 minutes for crews to get there. Station 14 was proposed to fix that problem. Now it may not for EMS calls. You see them on the streets, fire trucks, ambulances responding to emergencies. In response to a need for faster services, Fire Station 14 is in the works. Its whole purpose is to serve an area where response times take longer than most would like.
More than double what they would look at as appropriate.
News 3 Investigates in 2015 found those response times far beyond the national standard of 5 minutes for multiple parts of the east side. Anywhere from 10 minutes on Winona Way to nearly 17 minutes at St. Teresa Terrace. Station 14 was proposed by Madison's fire chief and the former alder for the neighborhood to fix those problems. Michael Tierney is now the alder for this part of town. He says the mayor cut the budget requests for an ambulance service at this station.
For the city of Madison and a lot of other municipalities in the state, it's really put a stranglehold on our ability to provide what is a basic service.
Budget issues.
That's something that I've talked to a lot of residents of my district about.
Should the ambulance not be put back into the budget when this station is finished, any call that requires an ambulance will have to wait for the next closest station who has one available. Now, because Fire Station number 14 doesn't have an ambulance available, the next closest available one is at Fire Station number 5 on Cottage Grove Road. Now, that's only 7 minutes away. That might not seem that far, but when an emergency happens, every minute matters. For those who need it most.
It's a concern for them. If there's an emergency in one part of the city, stations in another part of the city have to be able to respond.
Michael says there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle to work out before they can approve an ambulance being placed here. He says he's doing all he can to make sure that happens.
If we absolutely cannot get the ambulance right away, I'm trying to figure out how do we elevate the level of service.
The mayor was not available to give further comment on this, but Madison Fire Department said response times are a huge factor in trying to get this ambulance in place ASAP. They said the response times are 2 to 3 times longer than they would like for this area, and as Alder Michael Tierney said, he's doing everything he can to make that service available.
All right, Jamie Perez in the News Center. Jamie, thanks.
It is chilly outside, a big change compared to yesterday. Chief Meteorologist Gary Knowles is in the Weather Center with our first alert forecast. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Charlotte. Yeah, you're right. It is about 20 to 25 degrees colder than it was at this time yesterday. And at night, those temperatures are going to drop down to around freezing for tonight and tomorrow night as well. We have an alert day in the forecast for tomorrow morning, and also for tomorrow night for widespread frost and a hard freeze potential, especially outside of the city of Madison. Freeze warning in effect for all of southern Wisconsin away from Lake Michigan from 1 a.m. till 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Visible cloud track at least shows some clouds, but those clouds will start to thin out as we get into the evening hours, and that will allow the heat to start escaping a little more rapidly from the ground. Last night, temperatures were in the mid to upper 30s from Madison westward and in the lower 40s, a little more cloud cover to the east of town, but high temperatures today have only made it up in the middle to upper 40s. Milwaukee was around 50. That was just mainly due to warmer water off of Lake Michigan, and current temperatures now range from the middle 40s in Milwaukee to the low 40s in Madison to the upper 30s out near La Crosse. And by tomorrow morning, temperatures will be down to around freezing or in some cases a few degrees below it, and the possibility exists for widespread hard freeze. Look for a low of about 30. Tomorrow's high temperature, very chilly as well, with a high of in the afternoon of 43. That's your first alert forecast.
Thank you, Gary. With the colder weather, area farmers are preparing for a possible hard freeze.
Meteorologist Dave Caulfield joins us now. And Dave, this end of the growing season, a bit of a double-edged sword for farmers.
Yeah, absolutely, Charlotte and Eric. Have you ever wanted two completely different things equally? If you have, you can definitely relate to dairy farmer Corey Brown. This impending cold snap has some farmers feeling like Steelers' wheel, stuck in the middle.
Never seen anything like that before. That's the new norm now, I guess. All sorts of crazy weather patterns.
Belleville dairy farmer Corey Brown can't seem to catch a break this year.
So we're stuck on the fence with a boulder on each side, and we have to jump one way or the other.
Part of him is welcoming the sub-freezing temperatures to southern Wisconsin.
We also need to harvest our soybeans and our grain corn, and we can't do that until the ground either dries out or freezes.
But on the other hand, a freeze would be the latest setback for Corey's alfalfa cut, a key component of his feed.
The remaining quality of that crop will quickly go downhill and will be almost useless to us.
At a 50-degree temperature swing in the span of 3 days, and Corey is having to do all he can to keep himself from having a cow.
Removing water from our sprinkler systems, getting heaters into our water pump houses and water troughs to keep them from freezing. So it's a major switchover in a short period of time.
All making for a weather year he won't forget anytime soon.
I haven't talked to a single person that has seen weather like this before.
Now, if this cut of alfalfa doesn't make it, Corey will lose about 10% of his feed for the cows over the next year, which is the absolute last thing that a dairy farmer needs to think about in this current market.
Dave Caulfield on the patio. Dave, thanks. Just a reminder, you can monitor our cooler weather by downloading our First Alert Weather and Traffic app. It is free in your phone's app store.
Suspended Badger wide receiver Quintez Cephas enters a not guilty plea in Dane County Court as he faces 2 felony sexual assault charges. The case stems from an alleged incident in April. 2 women accused Cephas of sexually assaulting them while they were intoxicated. Cephas says it was consensual. His attorney, Stephen Meyer, says he is still compiling video evidence that will exonerate his client. Cephas is due back in court on November 13th.
Some Wisconsin seniors are supporting Senator Tammy Baldwin. The group Seniors for Tammy met on the Capitol Square today. They feel Senator Baldwin fights for seniors and caregivers, believes in protecting pre-existing conditions, and wants to protect Medicare and Social Security. They fear Senator Baldwin's opponent, State Senator Leah Vukmir, sides with special interests over seniors.
For us Wisconsin seniors, the choice is clear. It's Tammy Baldwin who's fighting for us, and Leah Vukmir who's fighting for the special interests.
Meanwhile, the Republican candidate Vukmir meeting with veterans today at a restaurant in Toma, part of a roundtable discussion. Now, this is an area and an issue where she has been on the attack against Senator Baldwin.
The fact that the Toma VA was called the Candyland and the doctor was called the Candyman. The drugs were not only affecting our veterans, but they were leaching out into the wider community, and she chose to do nothing until she was found out.
Baldwin and Vukmir will debate this Saturday night in Wausau. Another debate is set for October 19th. That'll be at the Marquette University Law School.
There are hundreds of poll workers' shifts available in Madison. The positions are needed for November's election. Workers make around $13 an hour, and morning, afternoon, and entire day spots are available. Workers will also need to do 1 hour of training. Well, Janesville is getting some help with improving the Monterey Dam site. Adam Duxter joins us from our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with why city leaders are so happy about this assistance. Adam?
Well, Charlotte, the Janesville city leaders are happy because they're getting $150,000 in assistance from the DNR, and they say that this money is already taking the pressure off of next year's budget. Now, the money is going to go towards improvements on the Monterey Dam site, and it'll all be structural improvements like adding a handicap fishing area as well as improving the fishing habitat itself, in addition to adding launch ports for kayaks and canoes. Public Works Director Paul Woodard says the money was a surprise.
Well, we had not planned on getting the stewardship grant as part of our budget process, so it's additional money which is helpful for the project. I think it shows the DNR is a partner in removing the dam.
Woodard says the project won't be complete until next year. He also says that this isn't the last grant the city is going to apply for. Telling me today they're going to apply for a flooding grant, a municipal flooding grant that could total up to $400,000.
Adam, thank you.
The Wisconsin State Patrol recognized 25 officers who were involved with life-saving efforts over the past year. According to officials, the awards honor the public service of first responders. Notable this year, the amount of lives saved by officers administering Narcan in opioid overdose cases. Among the 26 honorees are officers from Sun Prairie, Madison, Monroe, and Hazel Green.
A lot of people make an effort to live by the golden rule, treat others as they'd like to be treated. There's that, and then there's Jake Neeson. He's renovating this home in Portage that he bought with his own money, transforming it into a sober living home for people struggling with addiction. He's planning to have everything up and running by the end of the month. Tonight on News 3 at 10, we'll tell you more about Jake and why he's so passionate about his cause. She knows what it takes to face cancer.
Cancer has brought so many blessings in some ways.
Now she's determined to stay positive despite fears about coverage for people with pre-existing conditions as she waits for her next grandchild. Her story is next at 6.
Pre-existing conditions are a hot topic as candidates prepare for the midterm election.
We're taking a closer look at where Governor Walker and Tony Evers stand on this issue, but for some people, it's not an issue, it's reality. And Rose Schmidt joins us with one local woman's fight. Rose.
Well, today I had the pleasure of meeting Rhonda. She's starting cancer treatments tomorrow for the second time around, and she says she's lucky to have her health insurance covered. But she knows many people worry that one day theirs won't be.
The seasons are changing. I look at the leaves. I said, this may be the last time I'm going to see an autumn.
A life filled with beauty, nature.
I have a lot to live for. I have a really good life.
And a home filled with fall decorations for her 6 grandkids to enjoy.
Cancer has brought so many blessings in some ways.
Rhonda Goodrow was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2014. After treatment, she was overjoyed to be in remission for 2 years. But now the cancer is back.
Yes, I should respond as well as I responded before, right? But sometimes cancer gets smarter, and it learns how to fight.
Rhonda is one of an estimated 2.4 million people with a pre-existing condition in Wisconsin.
Most everybody I know has a pre-existing condition. Asthma, HPV, I mean, you name it.
Right now, those conditions are required to be covered under the Affordable Care Act, but members of Congress have pushed for the ACA to be repealed. If something were to change, Governor Walker's spokesman says he would call a special session and get something passed. Democrat Tony Evers says he would extend protections for people in our state with pre-existing conditions should the ACA be repealed. Evers challenged Walker to drop support for a lawsuit that would repeal the ACA. Both Evers and Walker's Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish are cancer survivors who can likely relate to Rhonda.
I am in the best place I can possibly be with it.
And that means looking forward to her 7th grandchild on the way.
I was granted time I wasn't supposed to have.
A life filled with beauty, which for her is spending time with people she loves. The most recent Marquette Law School poll shows 78% of voters say coverage of pre-existing conditions under the Affordable Care Act is very important to them. And Rhonda tells me that's not a surprise to her.
Well, we appreciate her telling her story, and we wish her the best. Rose, thank you.
In weather, we have an alert day for tomorrow for the possibility for a widespread frost and freeze, not only for tomorrow morning, but for Saturday morning as well. I'll have your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joins us now with your forecast.
It's going to be a couple of cold nights. Actually, the next week or so, I think most nights, low temperatures will be right around freezing. Daytime high temperatures will be in the 40s to lower 50s, but that's not as bad as what they're dealing with in the southeastern part of the country from what is now Tropical Storm Michael, but was this time yesterday a powerful hurricane. You can still see the circulation center moving up through the Carolinas and Virginia. Maximum sustained winds right now about 50 miles per hour, moving to the northeast to 24 miles per hour. So the fast movement will take it offshore pretty quickly, still bringing several inches of rain along the coast from the Carolinas northward up into New York City. But around here, it's just the cold weather now that's actually allowed to be dropped southward as Michael heads up into the Atlantic Ocean. A cold front has moved eastward now, and that has swept through much of the Midwest. We have an alert day in the forecast for tomorrow and for tomorrow night for widespread frost and a hard freeze. The temperatures dropping into the upper 20s. Freeze warning in effect for most of southern Wisconsin away from Lake Michigan. A frost advisory in effect for those counties in the Milwaukee area. But over the last 5 years, the first freeze has occurred mainly later than this. I mean, mean, this is about average for Madison. Back in 2014, October 11th was the first sub-freezing temperature in Madison, but and I think our lowest temperature so far has been 33 here in town. But you can see several years the date of the first frost has been later and later. And if you look at the length of the growing season, according to our friends over at Climate Central, you can see that since 1970, the growing season in Madison has actually gone from about 140 days to about 155 days. So we've added 15 days with the warming climate on either end, the date of the last frost in the spring and the date of the first frost in the fall. So this is becoming more and more the normal type of weather pattern, having the later frost. The cloud cover keeping temperatures up a little bit in the evening, but you can see those clouds starting to break up from the WISC and Platteville, Queen Bee radio sky cams. The Edgewater sky cam, a little more cloud cover looking to the southeast, but these clouds will dissipate close to sunset, and that will allow the temperatures to really start falling off. High today only 48 compared to the average high of 61. Low temperature 38 is about average, but right now we're at 42 degrees. Winds are out of the west-northwest at 10 miles per hour, and that dew point temperature around 30 degrees. That's about how low our temperatures are going to get for tonight. So again, a freeze warning in effect for all of southern Wisconsin for tonight. Look for a low temperature of 30 degrees in Madison, probably upper 20s outside of the city. So frost and freeze likely for tomorrow's high temperature, if you can call it that, only 43 degrees. That's almost 20 degrees below average. See how the skies clear out overnight. Temperatures drop to around freezing by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, high temperatures only in the lower 40s thanks to some cloud cover during the day, and then it clears out tomorrow night. Perfect setup to get another cold night with low temperatures in the upper 20s to around 30. Saturday, partly sunny. Southerly winds getting high temperatures back into the lower 50s, but the 7 to 10 day forecast keeps temperatures below average at least through the middle of next week. Nighttime low temperatures around freezing. Daytime highs 40s to lower 50s, a little warmer toward the end of next week.
The Brewers announced their starting pitchers for the first 3 games of the NLCS, and the first one might surprise you. The story's coming up in sports. The Brewers will start Gio Gonzalez in Game 1 of the NLCS tomorrow night at Miller Park against the Los Angeles Dodgers and Clayton Kershaw. Wade Miley gets the Game 2 start. Yuli Chassin will start Game 3. Now, the last we saw of the Brewers, they finished a sweep of the Colorado Rockies in the NLDS. Will 4 days off make them rusty or rusted? The Brewers say probably both.
The games were big, and they're only going to get bigger, so I think we're try to stay. I guess if you need to reset, you reset, but I think it's something that's you try to stay locked in and you try to stay, as ready as we were in Colorado.
It'll be good for our pitching staff. It'll be good for everybody to kind of recover and reset. And they had pretty much the same break that we do, so I don't think it'll be too much of a disadvantage for us.
Today was Big Ten Basketball Media Day in Chicago, and Wisconsin's Ethan Happ is one of only 2 players that are unanimous picks to the preseason All-Big Ten team. Purdue's Carson Edwards, the preseason Player of the Year, is the other. Michigan State was picked to win the Big Ten this season. Wisconsin picked to finish 6th in the conference. Now, the Badgers missed the NCAA tournament for the first time in 2 decades last year, but a lot of injuries had a lot to do with that. Still, last year's strong finish may just carry over to this season.
Our younger guys got more experience, and we were kind of meshing at the right time. We just needed it to be a longer season, and we're just really excited to get this season underway.
We did improve as it went on, and so right now it just kind of gives us some more fuel to the fire and a little more motivation inside to get back to where we want to be this year.
Badger football about a touchdown underdog at Michigan Saturday night at 6:30. They're usually favored, but some of the players say it's okay to be the hunters instead of being the hunted for once. Michigan is ranked 12th in the AP poll this week, while Wisconsin is 15th. So what's usually a good matchup is a great one this year. Head coach Paul Chryst says he tries to keep each week about the same, but he knows there might be a little more juice this week.
A number of these guys have played against really good teams. So, I think this is why they want to, when they have a vision of their career, and when you come to Wisconsin, you want to play in games that, against good teams and are meaningful. This has all that. There's a lot of talk that goes around in a lot of games and throughout the season, and you can't get caught up in that. You just got to be in the moment to maximize the moment.
The Prep Mania High School football game of the week tomorrow night features Lakeside Lutheran against Lodi at Waunakee. The winner gets at least a share of the Capital North Conference title. Bill Brophy's doing Badger hockey, so it's Alan Minard and me tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, TVW, channel3000.com. And did you see who's leading the NFL in sacks so far this season? Not 1 Watt, but 2. Both Houston's J.J. Watt and Pittsburgh's T.J. Watt have the most sacks in the NFL so far this season, with 6. The other brother, Derek, is still a fullback with the Chargers, so bunch of overachievers.
Good start to the season for them. Final check of the forecast with Gary.
Alert day for tomorrow over temperatures down around freezing, and about the same for Saturday morning as well. Temperatures, though, remain cool through the middle of next week.
Thanks for joining us for News 3 at 6.
Have a great evening, and we will see you back here at 10 o'clock.
Download the new Channel 3000 app and get alerted on your mobile device the minute news breaks. Wherever you go, be the first to know with Channel 3000.